Good morning, my dear brothers and sisters. In this time of pandemic, I heard of a running joke in the Philippines. Pre-pandemic, when they learn you're visiting from the US, people will flock you, even run after you. Now, when they learn you're visiting from the US, people will avoid you, even run away from you. Of course, we know that this is a joke, but we also know that there is a tinge of truth in it. People are afraid of people who just had travel history, who knows what they got along the way. Even among our own families, we avoid as much as possible those who had just arrived from another country or another state. We suggest that they first quarantine, or if they are responsible, they impose upon themselves some type of quarantine just to be safe. I remember when my parents came back from Alabama in June to stay with me again, they quarantined themselves. We would not eat together. They would eat in the patio. I would eat in the dining area. We're separated by a screen. When they finally arrived in the Philippines, in the province, they stayed not in the house, but in another house close to our house. And there stayed for another 2 weeks on top of the 2 week quarantine that the government required just to be safe. Who knows what they got along the way? I bring this up because we can very well relate in the case of leprosy during the time of Jesus. When there was no disease regarded with more terror and pity during the time of Jesus than leprosy. And there were many lepers in Palestine, and they were rendered unclean, for truly they were. They could be contagious, at least in their primitive and limited understanding of leprosy. Thus, they were not allowed to mingle with others, to socialize with others. The law even dictated that the leper must shout, "Unclean, unclean," when someone was getting closer to him or her in order to warn that person. And perhaps the leper would willingly do so just to avoid contaminating or infecting others, just to be safe. So clearly, the leper had to bear not only the physical pains of the disease, but also the mental anguish and the heartbreak of being shunned by your society. But Jesus, when a leper came to him, and this leper knelt begging, Jesus was moved with pity and compassion, and he stretched out his hand and touched the leper and said to him, "Be made clean." Immediately, the leprosy left the man, and he was made clean. But of course, this is a wonderful story. This is so powerful. But this leaves us also with a lot of questions, especially we are in this pandemic. Why did Jesus touch the leper when touching him could put him at risk of contagion? Why did he touch the leper when it could also set an example, even a bad example, to others? That they could touch ill people, putting themselves at risk of contagion. Does this mean in this time of COVID, we should also physically touch patients who are ill? Because Jesus did. And for as long as we know Christ is present in us, we are protected. So we could touch people, healthy or unhealthy. We could embrace each other indiscriminately in this time of pandemic. I believe that the answer is no. What Jesus wants to send as a message is for us to not lose our compassion for the sick. For healthy and safety precautions, we can distance ourselves from each other and from the sick. But our compassionate hearts should remain. And we must find a way to send our message of compassion across. Socially distant, but not distant hearts. Definitely not distant and cold hearts. The problem that Jesus wanted to correct during his time was precisely this. Lepers were not only shunned from social interactions, but were also shunned from people's compassion. When compassion could in fact be given in a wise, safe, meaningful, and powerful way. And that, my friends, we are called to discern and do in our own time and context. Amen.